Burt Miller says, streaming and YouTubers are the only reason horror still exists as a game genre. The vast majority of people experiencing horror games do so through other people like this.
I don't. So that's an opinion.
Coming in hot, final on G's. But
yeah.
I watch horror through YouTubers and streamers because I'm a wuss. I will not play a horror game by myself. I will watch somebody play it because horror always has me morbidly curious, but not enough to actually commit to it.
Fair enough.
Like a movie, I will have to watch with somebody with the lights on at all times. The closest thing to a horror movie that I sat through from start to finish that wasn't either A, incredibly annoying because of the high note jump scares that I always do, or B, didn't leave me awake at night, was the FNAF movie, and that was more of a thriller than a horror.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Like a kid's version of a horror movie.
Yeah. But like, I think, what was the last horror movie I sat through? I think it was like Insidious. It was either Insidious or Paranormal Activity. But it's just the fact that like it was barely the horror that got me. It was the haha loud chord jump scare. It's like, ow, that hurt my ear. Can you not please?
Yeah, that's not really good horror, to be honest.
Yeah,
horror is more about atmosphere and like.
Yeah, no, like I want to feel like this character was going to die at any moment. That's why slasher movies are good. Like slasher horror movies back then were really good because like there was that level of like danger and tension. Characters had no idea what was going on and they were doing dumb stuff wandering off. And it's like, no, don't do that. You're gonna freaking die. But you know, like it did them a lot better. Modern horror is either extremely poorly written or is riddled with unnecessary like loud chords and jump scares. And it's like I can't like sit through it. Horror games?
Like horror as a genre should be similar to like sci-fi in terms of like it's a weird unknown like
like
world.
You're in the world of horror, not like oh I'm gonna get you over.
It's a real world, but you get scared.
Yeah, like I want to
like,
feel. I'm saying this like I'm gonna watch a horror movie on purpose, but like I want to feel like the mystery, tension, and suspense of what the heck is going on. And
the
then,
world
like,
is unknown.
If something comes at me, it's because, like, I already know something's... Not already know something's creeping up, but it's like... The dramatic irony allows the viewer to know that something bad is going to happen. And then it does, at some point. But you don't know when, and the mystery builds up to that. Kind of.
And, like, the world is very strange and unknown, so you're not sure what's going to happen next in it.
Yeah, like, just the ambiguity and the mystery of it all is, like, what... supposed to make a good horror movie. Like the ones that I think the only other good one that made waves was It. I haven't seen it myself, but I have heard that that was the one that people liked a lot.
Yeah, I think the original and the remake. Yeah.
So I could be wrong. Or not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I played through a bunch of Resident Evil games, so I kind of enjoy the horror genre.
Yeah. Hey, have you played 7 and 8?
Yeah, 7, 8, and I think all the other ones except for Code Veronica, I believe.
I don't think anyone likes Code Veronica. That was the one with
Claire.
Claire and what was that stupid kid's name?
Steve
Burnside, yes.
Stupid kid. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely acts like a child, even if he's supposed to be about the same age as her, I think.
Father!
But, so, Resident Evil 7 in VR is a very good horror, like, trip.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, because like
VR
makes you feel like you're in that world.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually do like that VR is as good as it is. It just needs more like original titles to it. It needs like actual like full-fledged games, not just tech demos, you know?
Yeah, they kind of dropped off after a while now, so it hasn't got as much as it used to.
Yeah, it sucks that ended up becoming a fad. Like, it's like how 3D TV became a fad. It's like, no, make the technology better. I want more 3D stuff.
Right.
But whatever. I'm tangenting. But yeah, this is I feel like this is a fact. And not just because I'm reading a chat. This feels like a fact. Like, a lot of... but that's also... Actually, no. That's...
The second part probably makes it more facty because it's seeming more like...
It's more of a fact to me because I don't really play horror games like that anyway. I only watch them because of YouTubers and streamers. Like, if I didn't subscribe to Markiplier, I would not be watching horror. Markiplier would be somebody else. Oh, Markiplier or Dashi. Like, they play a lot of the horror games, both good and bad. But I do like that horror games are typically really good at setting atmosphere. Like, that is the horror. Like, that is typically how you set up. Like, Five Nights at Freddy's is kind of both, actually, where it's loud noise, jump scare, and atmosphere, because you're actively trying to keep these things away from you. You're stuck in this room, and like your tension's building up because like stuff's moving around, and as you go to the higher levels, it gets harder, so you get even more tense. So when the jump scares hit, they actually hit, because you're actually wound up trying to keep these things away from you.
Yeah, what's weird about this statement is that it's like pulling kind of a lot of fact, but also making an opinion.
To say it exists as a game genre, I will say that is an opinion.
Yeah, because it's like, well, I mean, it still does exist. Just maybe it's always been niche.
Yeah, like horror definitely blew up due to content creation, but I'm not gonna say it doesn't exist. It's like saying JRPGs only exist because of like guide makers and stuff like that. It's like, no, like they'd still be pretty niche, but like they blew up because these people like use layman's terms and make the game easier for people, which is commendable. So it's like, if you apply that similar you can apply that to almost anything.
Yeah, I'll probably stick with opinion if you want to go for fact, I guess. Still.
Yeah, I'm gonna commit to opinion. Lock in.
Oh, you are now, okay.
Horror is only around because of streaming?
Because
of e-celebs?
E-celebs.
Internet best friends? Content? Can it be true that the entire horror genre in video games is only alive because of streamers and YouTubers? Can that be true? Yes!
Boo.
It's a
I
fact.
didn't agree with that.
These games haven't had any sort of innovation in years.
That is
And
true.
the only reason people like them right now is because you see your funny man yelling and screaming about it. By the way, I might play Plasmophobia tonight.
Phasmophobia?
Phasmophobia, you did? Oh my gosh.
Phantasmophobia. Someone else in chat. How many different ways are to say that thing wrong?
But okay, no, that makes sense. But he's like, the whole like horror games don't really do much to innovate. They just kind of know how to make the area around them kind of spooky. The only time they actually did do anything cool was PT, and then that got scrapped.
The new Silent Hill short message game is pretty good.
Oh, really? The Silent Hill got a new game?
It's like a shorter one, yeah. It's like it's first person, just like PT was.
Okay. I
But
think
yeah,
I
it's
really
more
heard
of
about
like
that,
a-
but I don't really pay attention to that genre, so I haven't like. Gosh, my camera's a mess. The camera's sorry, but I haven't paid attention to that genre much. So like, what's it called? I haven't. If there was anything new, this is the first time hearing about it.
Right. Yeah, it's like a shorter contained story, you know.
Okay, that's
It's
cool.
not like a full-fledged game, but yeah, it's still pretty good.
But most with the exception of like Silent Hill and PT, like they haven't really done anything new, unless you're like AAA, like Resident Evil. But even then, like Resident Evil kind of does the same thing that these other horror games do. They're just a lot better at it. Like, so like when it gets like action focused, you don't see the same set pieces in Resident Evil that you do in like freaking Granny's Dungeon or something, whatever that game's called.
Outlast.
Outlast is definitely atmospheric. That is
Kind of
definitely
budget horror game.
Yeah, it's an atmospheric, like I can't fight back kind of horror game, but you're still going from point A to point B, looking at horror set pieces. Like I saw Markiplier play a little bit of Outlast, and like it definitely has more shock value than other horror games. But at its basis, it's kind of the same. Like you're going from point A to point B, like talking to weird NPCs, maybe running away from a boss or two here and there.
Like Lethal Company's kind of like horror combined with
Yeah, this is before Lethal Company came up. But horror, like Lethal Company, is an actual innovation on horror. It's multiplayer. It's got like
Dead by Daylight, I guess, also that way.
Actually, yeah, Dead by Daylight's also a good like horror innovation. Yeah.
That actually made its own genre, kind of the people are copying now, like Chainsaw Massacre game and the like a puppet Master, I think is what it's called. like this multiplayer, like that the game where you play as a
isometric
human.
multiplayer.
Yeah, you play as like the human. You walk around and there's like these little puppet guys that everyone else plays as, trying to kill you.
Oh, okay. It's the reverse of that. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there's a lot of new a lot of new ideas. Granted, it's a reverse from the Dead by Daylight formula, but that's still like a different formula. Lethal Company is probably like the biggest innovation of horror though, because of all the stuff you have to do, and like the fact that proximity chat's like really cool. It's got like different objectives, randomly generated enemies depending on how far along you are. Like Lethal Company actually does a pretty good job at innovating on horror, and that I feel like is a true exception. Dead by Daylight is also pretty good too. It's a pretty good example.
It's a good sci-fi horror combination with the Lethal Company.
Yeah,
it's always been good. Ever since I wouldn't say Alien's the first one, but it's been the most well known.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of that nice combination genre. It's always good. Dead Space, Callisto Protocol is still pretty good, even though it's not as well liked.
Yeah.
There's quite a few good sci-fi horror games.
Yeah, sci-fi horror seems to be where it's at if you're trying to like be original, but
yeah, because sci-fi is always kind of weird and innovative in some way.
yeah. Plus, like, gives you ways to fight back, so it's not like the tension's there because they can still kill you at any moment, but at the very least you can defend yourself, kind of.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, come on.
But think about all the horror games that have come out the past few years, right? Resident Evil, Outlast,
Yeah,
Silent Hill's dead. Five Nights was big on the backs of streamers, Amnesia.
Five Nights was also like a really good innovation on horror, actually. It was jump scare horror, but it was like jump scaring is the consequences of your actions rather than the game just spooking you for thrills.
Yeah, like what if you had a horror game where you couldn't move from your spot no matter what?
Like you were forced to do your job and you have to do this and that because you can't leave because if they spot you, they'll just kill you on the spot anyway. Like the entrance isn't like through the grand hall where all of them like hang out. So like,
like other horror games, you're allowed to move. Whether it's well or not is doesn't matter. But like you're not allowed to get away usually.
Yeah, any horror game with a stamina meter is like peak tension.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. There are exceptions, obviously, right? And the Resident Evil games are very good. Don't get me wrong. They don't have like a lot of sort of streamer bait. But really, the genre, at least in its current form, is only existing because of weirdos like me who play.
I will give him that. A lot of the weird, like the lower, like end horror games, they're popular because of streamers and YouTubers.
Yeah.
That I will give him.
Some of them are just made just for
Now,
to be streamed. Yeah.
Death Trips is still my favorite one.
I think it probably
though.
still would be around if not for people.
Have you heard of Death Trips?
It would still be around, but it wouldn't be near.
Well, it's very funny because like the game is literally called Death Trips, right? So when you boot up the game, you start up in a hallway, like you're doing your running around, and you see this guy run through the hallway, trip over and fall, and then the game ends.
Okay.
Because that guy was deaf. Death Trips. So like he did, and then the game ended.
Yeah, right. It's very, very baity name, yeah.
Yes, I thought it was really funny when I first saw it, and that like still lives in my head rent free. That's such a good like, because Death Trip sounds like a really legit horror title, so to simply have it just be a punchline was like peak writing. I don't care what any other horror game has done in their past. That is the best written horror game I've ever seen, and it only lasted like 30 seconds.
All right.
And some franchises might.
You want to talk about horror game innovation? That's how you do it.
Subvert.
But this is still a fact.
Expectations.
An actual good way to subvert expectations, yeah.
There is such a thing as talent that no amount of practice or hard work will allow you to achieve.
In certain, what do you call it? Certain circles. Yes.
Yeah, there are definitely
Like
the tricky part about that is There's having an aptitude for something, and then there's working to learn that thing. If you have an aptitude for something, you're likely going to be complacent and just run off that aptitude and not learn or challenge yourself or anything like that because you feel like you already know everything there is to know. Someone with hard work can catch up to that, but a talented person... I gotta be honest, I love playing horror games in my free time. Yeah, I love. We got another one. A little late to the party, but yeah. But if a talented person works on their talent, then no. Someone who doesn't have an aptitude is not going to catch up to someone that already has an aptitude for and is working hard on said aptitude.
Right.
Like, you could be like a rival and a competitor, but that person will always exceed you. And that's okay. That's why comparing yourself to prodigies is never a good thing. Because like that's just gonna screw up your mental state. You could be like, I wanna at the very least be comparable, but I'm not gonna be like... Yeah, you can practice being a good artist, but like a talented artist will probably exceed you on whatever it is you're trying to do. But that's okay, because you're a good artist now, and you can do your own style.
It's because the idea of innovation comes back, where like sometimes they have this weird idea that no one else did, and it just puts them a little bit above.
Yeah,
they just thought of it.
Yeah, like it's a lot like we'll take Mario for an example, like it is hard to beat Mario as a 3D Mario was like the definitive like 3D platforming genre. But that does not mean you can't also learn from Mario and make a good 3D platformer yourself, like, and then just do your own thing with it. And like a lot of it is just like don't compare yourself to prodigies unless you're trying to learn from them. Learning from them is one thing. Do not try to be better than a prodigy. Try to do your own thing within that field that you like, and then learn from the best, and then do your own thing with it, basically.
Yeah, it's hard to even like say who is a prodigy and who isn't. And that's just like circumstance that makes some famous artists famous.
Famous artists. There's a lot of prodigy Smash players coming up out of nowhere that are like 8 or 9 years old, winning tournaments against like big names, and it's like,
it's like, well, yeah, the younger ones always seem to be good at Smash because reaction time, I guess. Reaction
time. They know they were born in the mechanics rather than people figuring them out back then.
Yeah, and they have time to.
Yeah,
practice
because they're kids, they have plenty of time to practice outside of homework.
Yeah, those things. Yeah,
they're like the golden rule of life is that there will always be someone better than you. So
right, and that's fine.
Yeah, I will say this is a fact. If the talented person practices their talent, then that's a fact. If the talented person does not practice their talent, it's an opinion. But I'm gonna say this is fact.
Yeah.
You can be so talented at something, and someone else can try their best their entire life, and they will never.
Yeah, I watch shonen anime, so I mean,
shonen anime will gaslight you into thinking that's true.
57%.
I mean, that's what it's saying here.
There's some news for you. You're right.
Woo!
There is such a thing as talent, but I think a lot of people misunderstand it. Talent exists. It does.
Yes.
It's in every.
My brother's a talented artist, but I practice hard myself, and I'm pretty good at it myself.
You're not a blank slate, right? Does that mean that you can coast on talent forever? No. No. Because eventually, if you're talented, you'll reach a point where people that are talented and work hard are gonna beat your ass.
Yes.
You can work really hard to try to be good at something. Don't get me wrong. And you could probably see a lot of success. But at the end of the day, if talent continues to work as hard as
why did someone say Wadi?
and if you guys are sort of on the same level, there is natural talent. And it will.
Yeah,